I'm going to hit the go live button on YouTube. And I'd like to welcome everyone to our 5th edition of CoreSELF. Start again. I'd like to welcome everybody to our session today, our 5th session on the CoreSELF, the origin of peace, unity, and human rights. It starts with me. It does. It starts with each one of us individually. We're going to be listening to a recording that I did, had the pleasure of doing back a few days back with Andreza. She is actually here live as well as I am today. So we'll be here throughout the recording, listening to that along with you. And then we'll have some time at the end, probably a good 20-25 minutes to do Q&A or insights that you got from the recording. So enjoy, and we'll be back to answer questions and at the end of the recording. If you could start that cello, that'd be great. Welcome to edition 5 of the series this week. Welcome back for those of you that have attended some of the earlier ones. My name is Peter J. Redding. I'm a professional coach. I'm a professional coach trainer, and I'm a professional coach mentor. And I've been doing that for 26 years. What we're going to be talking about today is a continuation of the conversation that we've started this earlier this week in terms of the sense of core self, not my conditioned self, but my core inner self, the one that's been there really for the whole lifetime. And I know that a lot of people have forgotten that that's even there. They don't even know that it's there. And so the progression of sessions that we've had has been, how do I know that? How do I access that? How can I be supported from a professional coach's standpoint if I have a professional coach? How do they work with me to remind me of these kinds of things that are within me and match them up against my decision that I'm going through right now? And today we speak about program number 5 is about the human rights of CoreSELF as it relates to reinforcing. One of the experiences of a human being that I've experienced for a long time now is I forget. Not because of my age, it's just because I'm human. I forget that I have this tool or this knowledge because I am drawn into a skirmish of whatever in my life. And so we're going to explore today, how does one reinforce this as they move forward in life? Does it get easier? Does it get harder? Does it change? So we're going to get to the beautiful woman that's next to me here, Andreza, in just a minute, but I want to kind of outline session 5 here for you. So here's what we're going to be talking about. This right, I have the right to take personal responsibility to remind myself and my core self. Myself is my human self, right? My outer self. My core self is that inner self. So both remind my outer self and inner self that I am, in fact, a sacred, unique, life-affirming human being. I was born this way. I am that right now. And I will always be that sense of core self. It doesn't leave. It can't leave. It's embodied in my personage, in my humanity. And what I propose is that it's in you and it's in everybody that you know. Okay? So at this new and mostly unfamiliar stage of living for many people that have not been living from that place deep within themselves, that being the core self, you are between a conscious incompetence. I know that I'm not living that core self. I may know it. I may have articulated it and written down, as we've talked about in earlier sessions. But I'm living mostly in a state of deep personal fulfillment without, oh no, that's the stage I'm going to eventually, hopefully, is to a place of unconscious competence where I don't have to think about it a whole lot. but I'm still competently on track with who I am and meant to be by living it most of the time in a state of fulfillment, but without a whole lot of effort. Okay, so the journey, the journey between those 2 points, even though I can say it in less than a minute, may take 5 years, may take 10 years. And that's the thing that we're going to be talking about today is how do I make that progression where it's awkward? I don't remember exactly who I am to get to that point of there's a sense of ease, grace, competency, a deep sense of fulfillment and satisfaction, knowing that I am actually living congruently with how my creator created me to be. I mean, how does that sound? And if that sounds like a foreign world, I can tell you at 37, when I was at 37, that was not only a foreign world, but it was so far out in the distance of space that I wouldn't have known what I'm talking about. I had no concept that anything like that was within me. Zero, none, nada, zilch. For the Indians population, shunya. I'm so proud of myself. It took me 10 years to figure out that word. Shunya means zero, nothing, right? That was at 37. So, is there a way to accelerate that? Is there a way to get support in accelerating that journey from conscious incompetence to unconscious competence, right? So let me bring in Andresa right now, introduce her. And Andresa, I'm going to ask you to, where do you live? What kind of people, what do you do, and who do you support?
Hello, Peter. I am Andresa, as you have mentioned, and I currently live in San Francisco, California. And that's a very good question. Who do I support? The intention that I set for myself when I began this journey of becoming a life coach was I want to work with people that find that space within themselves that they're ready to take responsibility for themselves and for where they are in life, whether they know what to do at the moment or not, but they have come to that space within where they say to themselves, enough of this, enough is enough. I'm ready to move forward, though I don't know what to do, but I'm ready to take the first step. And for me, it's recognizing that, and then the path opens.
I love that it's an idea of yeah, my life isn't working the way I want it to work, kind of recognition or awareness, but then also I'm willing to do the work to figure it out. So
Yes.
is that a requirement for a coaching client to be responsible for their own life and be willing to do the work? I mean, is that two of the tenets of how a coaching client becomes a coaching client?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Interesting.
And yes, and and I say this intently, I only work with people who are at that space.
Yeah.
Because I have realized that when they're not, they don't do the work because it's work.
Yeah.
It's diligent work. It's daily work. And a lot of times it's for me, it's on a breath by breath.
I'm laughing not at you, but with you, because I have definitely been there. It's like I shared I think maybe in yesterday's session or the day before session, when I got into personal growth and development and awareness, right, for myself, again, late 30s for me. I came to the point, I prayed to God after about 2 years of it, please let me be the oblivious person that I was 3 years ago, because this is just too freaking hard. I mean, honest to God, I said, please, and it was too late. It's like, and I think my God was laughing at, like, just like you were saying, yeah, nice try, Peter, but it's way too late. Yeah, it's that boat has sailed.
I'm laughing because I totally relate. Yeah. But it's a beautiful journey of no return.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that journey. And you can share what you're willing to share about your own journey in terms of maybe being in that place at one point in time of either being lost or kind of wandering through the desert of life and being told what to do. And how did it unfold for you?
I love that you said that, and being told what to do. Yes. I came to the place of wait, enough, when I was 36. And it was driven by a chaotic situation that I created. I had, though I was unconscious, I had a drop in me that knew, wait, what is my responsibility in this? I know I'm pointing fingers at everyone, but
Mm,
wait,
mm.
let me take a look inward because I'm the common denominator here.
Don't you just hate that at that stage of life?
So I began the journey at 36, and I did what others told me to do. So I took the advice. I did, and it wasn't working. And I remember thinking, wow, I feel like such a failure because I am doing what these people are telling me to do, but it's just, I don't seem to be able to do on a continuous basis. And the more I went inward with the question, I'm ready. I'm ready. That's when I found you,
Mm,
2019. And that's when I went to your program, and it was so mind blowing for me to do the process that you so beautifully opened yourself to bring it forth. I don't like the word create because it was already there in you. You just allowed yourself to bring it forth. And having that realization of it's in me, I can find the answers within myself, the way that it works for me, because only I truly know what works for me and what doesn't. And when another is telling me to do what works for them and it doesn't work for me, I feel like a bigger failure.
mhm.
So, accessing that side of me that is beautiful, that is pure love, that essence that I truly believe it truly is the essence of every human being on earth, is just covered with all of the conditions that we have been conditioned to through our upbringing, through our families, through our friends, and through the experiences that that upbringing brought forth. And so allowing that inner voice, that still voice, to speak in
Mm.
the midst of chaos, which often happens. It doesn't mean that when I am able to see that side of myself, it doesn't mean chaos doesn't come. But when it comes now, it allows me to say, okay, how do I deal with this? How do I access those powers that are within me that I was made aware of and use them and choose to tap into that power and that side of me
Mhm.
instead of operating from the other side of me, the conditioned self that operates out of fight or flight response.
Wow. Wow.
So for me, it truly made quite the difference in my journey
I
of
hear that.
life.
I hear that. So a couple things in that I want to point out to our audience is that just because you know your deep core self, what we call core self, doesn't mean that turmoil in life stops. Number one.
Correct.
But the upside of this is that I now know myself better and I can navigate, negotiate, deal with, choose to deal with, and kind of separate the wheat from the chaff, or the idea of, okay, so this is external forces happening and most of that doesn't apply. Thank you very much. and what's in it, what's the lesson in it for me, or where am I at choice? So again, you're going back to that full circle of self-responsibility of, okay, this is about how I'm reacting or how I want to move out of this place or extract myself from this situation or this relationship or this job or this thing that is not supporting me. And it sounds like there's a power in that, even if it's hard work, even if it's boy, I wish I didn't have to make this decision kind of work. It seems like there's an empowerment to that. Is there a sense that while you're in that sense of still the turmoil of a situation that you feel now, knowing your deep core self? That's a leading question, but I'll just leave it that way.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. What your work enabled me to do was truly take my power back. 100%.
Mm.
In the space of grace for
Wow.
myself.
Wow.
For myself, in the midst of, and this isn't to say that because I begin this work, I don't fall. I do. Many a times I fall into my old self, but I am able to hold this space for myself and not judge, empower myself. Okay, what can I learn from this experience, from how I chose to react, how I chose to behave, the meaning that I assign to this experience? This is all very empowering because what it does for me is it gives me the power of choice. Because for the longest time, I thought that everything happened outside of me,
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
And having this and self-empowerment gives me the power of choice. Okay, if I don't want to experience this in this manner anymore, I need to go back inward and recreate, reevaluate. How am I behaving? How am I being in the midst of circumstances that arise? If I continue to behave um, from this side of myself, the asleep side of myself, I will continue to obtain the same results. So,
Wow.
do I want to sit with, as we say, my higher self and make my choices from there for the future? Or how do I want to be? And many a times I say, I don't want to do anything. Okay, it's that power to accept where I am in the moment, all the while knowing that where I am going is towards back to my true self.
Wow. Wow. I mean, even the way that you're saying it right now, I can see the strength, the empowerment, the resolve that's coming through. And it's like, I'm not ignoring it and I'm not running away from it. This is it. This is what's going on. How do I take this? Do I take this as okay, another opportunity to learn, right? Life lesson. How do I want to either continue with this particular situation or person or not? And I am a choice, and I am, again, you talk about basic human rights. There's a basic human right there. I am at choice of what best serves my highest good,
Yes.
highest sense of self. And when I honor that and align with that, it generally pays off. Now I'm putting those words in it because that's my experience of it. When I ignore it or choose to say, I don't want to deal with this right now, it'll come back.
Oh, yeah.
And yet another opportunity to deal with it. And maybe I'm better prepared at that stage. But again, that's I think part of the human right of I get to choose how I live my life. And now that I'm aware All right, we'll get into this topic here in a second, but the awareness is one thing. The actually doing something with the awareness is completely something else, which is kind of the area we're in right now. But nevertheless, I have the human right to choose what's best for my life.
Yes.
And that's just, you so embody that. You so, I get that no one's going to push Andresa around, period. But yeah, I hear what you want me to do, but that's not congruent with who I am. So thank you for the opportunity. But I gracefully, that's the word you use. I love that. I can gracefully say no now. I can gracefully say that's not right for me. That is not aligned with who I know, who I am at the deepest part of my soul. Wow. I've asked other guests, can you imagine a world that every single human being has that power and empowerment within them and knowingness within them of how much better the world would be?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about that journey from, okay, I know who I am, right, with this CoreSELF discovery process, and you can do that on your own. The website, by the way, I don't think I've mentioned it yet, is, at least in today's session, is www.core, C-O-R-E, selfie, S-E-L-F, self, I-E, selfie. It's like a little, like taking a snapshot of yourself, right? A core selfie, but from the inside. So it's CoreSELFie.com, CoreSELFie.com. And there are 6 exercises on there. They're all, you can download them for free. There's no charge. And they're all self-administered. I've designed them now, and this, again, work that's come from my 25 years at Coach for Life Institute in training professionals like Andresa to support people from a professional coaching standpoint, where they're not giving advice, they're not telling them what to do, but supporting them to know themselves better and become more aware of the choices they're making, right? And this is one of the great tools that they have at their disposal. So if you're interested in that, then go to coachforlife.com, coachforlife.com. But otherwise, if you just want to know who you are better, or you want to be able to do this with your teenage daughters or your husband or your spouse or your brothers or siblings or mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, please do. I would love to have this. My goal is to get it in the hands of 1 billion people by 2025. That's why I'm here on this platform. I'd love to have you help me with that. So coming back to this concept of, okay, so now I know it for myself, right? Whether it's been self-administered or supported with a professional coach like yourself. 2, implementing it, integrating it, being aware of it, keeping cognition of, okay, I have that, to integrate it into the day-to-day life on an ongoing basis, regardless of what's happening, whether it's a smooth sailing week or a not so smooth sailing week. How do you do that? What techniques have you found that is supportive for you? And then I'm going to ask you what kind of support you've seen your clients do to be able to do that work, to do that integration.
A great question. For me is being mindful and paying attention to what I'm thinking and feeling. Observing, self-observation.
Love that
And
one.
For me, I practice when I feel that I am in a challenging situation. And I want to make this very clear that I don't always succeed. It's very important for me to make people aware that this is, even though I am a professionally trained life coach and I have been in this journey for a while, I still fall. I do, and I still fall short of my magnificence. And it's having that awareness. Okay, in the midst of it, okay, I fell. what can I do now for myself so I can change what's happening within to better my outer situation.
Got it.
I do different techniques. I breathe. I start to pay attention to my breath so that I am able to shift. Um, it's like giving myself a different trigger through the years of practicing and sitting in coaching sessions with my own coach, which I still do.
Hmm.
I learned that when I am in that moment, if I start to pay attention to my breath, it becomes easier for me to shift out of that. I'm going to call it a saboteur mindset and bring myself back into, okay, who am I truly?
Hmm.
It's,
Hmm.
for me, breath creates that, um what's the word I'm looking for, that space where I can be triggered out of the saboteur mode and I can see the fork in the road.
Wow.
Okay, I
Wow.
see this side and which side do I want to take right now? Do I want to operate out of my magnificent side and use my compassion muscles, my understanding muscles, and hold the space for myself now and that other being? Or do I want to fall short of my magnificence? How do I want to be with that?
Hmm. Wow.
And being okay with how I choose to be in the moment without judging myself.
I've heard that now at least 3 times in what you just shared in terms of, and there's no judgment. I'm still human. I still screw up. I still get into myself into jams. I didn't do it like I would have liked to have done it when I think about it or, reflecting on it. I take time to take a deep breath. And you asked a key question is, how do I want to be with this? So again, the whole concept is kind of coming back to what you said earlier in terms of self-responsibility. This is for me. I have a human right to be with this, to decide how I want to be with this, and even a human right to not judge myself. I mean, wow, comes to mind. How much energy does that save? How uplifting is that? Okay, so all right. I've often said I'm perfectly imperfect. That's my way of saying I'm still human. I still screw up. I still have my, geez, I wish I could have done that over again differently. um, so again, by going through that whole process that you just described, does that mean that you get through stuff faster or easier, or is it still a hard slog getting through it? Is it becoming easier to do that process as you get more and more into this work? I know I just
It
asked for.
absolutely, it gets easier, Peter. Yes. And I speak from experience. Yes. I had a coaching call yesterday with my coach, and it was it was brilliant and beautiful because we made, and I say we because she facilitated the space for me to see it within myself.
Nice.
And and we got there in 20 minutes,
Wow.
whereas before sometimes our sessions would take an hour and a half.
Yeah, and my
So,
guess is that without a coach, it might have taken a year and a half.
oh my goodness. Yes, because the movement, remember, I said that I started the journey at the age of 36, 2016. So it took me 16, 3 years to make movement as to, and when I came to you, it definitely sped things up
Mm,
100%
mm,
because I was able to see the power that was truly inside of me
wow.
instead of giving it to another like I was doing before.
Yeah, and you're not alone in that, obviously. And I don't even care, male or female. We give our power away when we don't know who we are.
Correct.
I
We
don't, I
don't
don't,
know who we are.
I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how educated you are. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care how white you are. I don't care how privileged you are, blah, blah, blah. If you give your power away, you're giving your power away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So now, definitely, yes, to answer your question, it gets easier. When I drift now, it doesn't last too long.
Wow. Yeah.
Definitely, yes. It does get easier. And the more I do it, when I get away from it, I become to operate out of my conditioned self. And that there's a lot of hardship in that.
Mm,
There's a lot of hard work versus diligent work.
yeah. Yeah. Good way to put it. Really good way to put it. What do your clients get from having you as their coach, knowing what you know, living the way that you live, having a consciousness in the energy field that you bring to that secure, safe space for them to come into? How do they experience this journey from, okay, so I think I know who I'm meant to be. I'm not quite sure of it yet, but it feels pretty good, to a place that you're describing in your own life of, wow, things are getting easier. I'm feeling more empowered. I'm feeling like I have a voice that I can share without retribution or, whatever else mom and dad might say. Or my relatives are like, what are you doing? What are you thinking, girl? Um, what's their journey? What's their experience in your space as a coach?
It's truly for me as a coach to witness another go through that self-discovery, to see their voice, their wow, really, this is me, and I can operate out of this mindset. Wow, really, I don't have to continue to condemn myself. I don't have to continue to judge myself daily.
Yeah,
Freedom, it's freedom, freedom.
yeah,
Freedom to be, freedom to say, wait a minute, yes, I can live out of my highest self. And it's a journey, and it's a one step at a time.
yeah.
It's having the biggest thing that I see with them is them being able to hold a gracious space for
Mm,
themselves as they travel through this journey.
wow.
And as you mentioned before, it can take a nanosecond to one, but it can take a lifetime to another. It's all very relative
Yeah.
to the individual.
Love the word gracious. I just love the word gracious. To treat myself, oneself, every other human being, every other brother and sister in the humanity is my brother and sister, and to want for them and know that they have access to being gracious with themselves, being gracious with the choices they've made, what got them here, gracious with altering or changing or deciding or becoming aware of options of a more empowering life, a more congruent life with their core self. Um, Again, for me, that's the core of human rights. What am I
Yes,
doing with and for myself that only I can do with and for myself? I can't delegate this. I tried to do that physically. I said, can you do my push-ups? I'm really exhausted. I just soon have you do it for me. I'll pay you for it. No, but this is the hard work that each individual human being, I think, has the right to do. And from a practical standpoint, they're the only ones that can do it for themselves. I can inspire, I can inform, I can cajole, I can, but I can't make somebody get connected with their inner self, their core self, unless they're ready to do that work. Like you said earlier, you know, are they willing to do the work? Are they ready? Or not? And I have huge compassion for those that aren't, because if someone came to me, if I heard myself when I was 27, get the hell out of my way, I'm busy here. It's like, I got things to do, buddy. I don't know what you, you know,
Inner work? What?
go talk to somebody else. So that's a yeah, I get it. All right. So I guess the last question I'd like to ask you, I mean, we could talk all day about this, and I just love your understanding and awareness and use of this, both for yourself and for your clients, but not what would you say to any individual of any age, any ethnicity, any stage of life, any form of or level of education or economic means? What would you say to any and all of them relative to knowing yourself and keep working at it?
Love yourself first and give yourself the gift of self-discovery.
And do you believe that it works for everybody, or is it just only for the precious few that can get it?
No, it works for everybody. That's a core belief that is, it's always been there. I just didn't know it in these words.
Yeah.
But it's truly the essence of every human on the face of this earth. I truly believe it. And that's what I feel to be the highest truth.
Wow. Well, I admire you. I love you. I know that you're a spectacular coach. I love the work that you do and the model that you are of this work. It's like, yeah, and I'm a work in progress and I don't judge myself, and I'm gracious with myself when I get tied up into something and I forget. I mean, you're all of that. And I'm sure that if someone sees you at the market, they're going to be inspired. They just will. It's like, you don't even need to talk to them. They go like, geez, I wish I had some of what she has. You know, she just seems so peaceful and graceful and compassionate and happy with herself. You know, it's like that Harry Met Sally. I referred to it earlier with somebody. You know, like, I want what she has. Can you just serve me that piece of pie that she has? Because it just, you know, she went over the top, as you remember, or maybe not remember. Oh dear, I'm off on a tangent here.
Thank you,
Andresia,
Peter.
thank you so much. I'd like to have you stick around if you can for some Q&A maybe, or some questions or inquiries that the audience might have. So if you can just stand by for a minute, we'll get switched over to that, okay?
Absolutely.
All right. That was a treat. Reliving that with you, Andresa. Let me get you here and add spotlight. That's what I'm looking for. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Great job. Well done. Hip, hip, hooray. What got reinforced for you, Andresa, just listening to yourself today?
Wow, so much, so much. Reinforcement and continue this journey, Andresa. Continue to tap into your higher self every day. And it will just continue to get easier for you and others around you too.
Beautiful. I heard that the recording had stopped. I want to make sure that Cello is still recording this. So if you can go back and keep it recording, that'd be great. There's a question in the chat box here from our wonderful Jean. How do you recognize when you fall short? You talked about sometimes life happens and you fall short of being your full, awesome, brilliant, amazing self. So how do you How do you recover from that? How do you recognize that?
Okay, how I recognize it is like I mentioned before, I've instilled this practice in me to pay attention to what I'm thinking and feeling. So in the midst of, I pay attention to my reactions. So, and really, when the judge taps into my mind and starts the chatter, then I go, oh, okay, here we are. How are we going to be with this? Are we going to allow this judge and this stickler? I'm a big perfectionist. The other side of me is, if things are not perfect, things are not happening. What is happening? And so it's noticing that thought pattern and how I'm feeling and going, okay, Andresa, it's going there. What are you going to do now? Are you going to allow majesty to come through and be the love and the compassion and the acceptance? Or are you going to let the judge and the stickler run the show? And you know what the consequences are going to be for either. How are you going to be now?
That takes a lot of awareness. Has that piece of it gotten easier, more relevant, faster coming to your, your screen of life? What's been going on with that? Or is it 3 days later and it's like, wow, I really screwed up back over the weekend? I mean, is that becoming easier in and of itself?
Peter, it's immediate. I have the awareness immediately, and then I immediately allow myself to choose. Okay, Andresa, we know which way the boat's gonna sail here. And the consequences of each side. So are you consciously making the choice to let your less magnificent self run? Okay, baby. I talk to myself that way. Okay, baby. But if that's what you want, let's go.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's just amazing to me that you're that aware that it's almost immediate, and B, you give yourself the choice. Like, okay, yeah, all right. That the you're getting sucked down into the drain, and it's okay, here we go, woo. Or
yes,
we're gonna make a conscious choice here to be a little different, be more congruent with my magnificence, as opposed to right now I just need to be, excuse the language, but I just need to be pissed off at them, period. Like, the hell with them, they don't deserve my compassion right now. This is autobiographical talk, by the way. This is Peter Redding. I'm not channeling for Andres. I'm just saying, I'm still human. It's like, I'm not ready to be forgiving and gracious right now. I've been hurt, right? Or at least I have felt hurt, and it's their fault. Here's a technique for all of you, and it comes from my relationship with my beautiful life partner, who we keep her anonymous here, but it's like, yeah, you made me feel this way, and this is the one universal exception. So I pull out the universal exception to, it's like, I create my reality. Yeah. So we have fun with that. It's like, yeah, no, this really is your fault. It's not mine. It couldn't be mine. So anyhow, use that technique if you like, but know that, yeah, it'll come back. You'll have another opportunity to work through that one. There was a question earlier that I received via email from one of our attendees that said, if you have two things to choose from, and they're both sort of basically, aligned with your, how you are created to be, right? Your life purpose, your natural gifts and talents, your core values, and so on. How do you choose? They're both quote good. They're both quote aligned. How do you Do you do both? Do you integrate them? Do you choose one and see how it works out? Do you agonize over the other one that you kind of let go of? What's your process, Andresa?
Yes. I dedicate a lot of time to sitting alone with myself, a lot, and inquiring, asking questions, and see how I feel. And if they're both good, or if they're both in alignment, then I ask myself, Andresa, what do you truly want to experience right now? Which option do you want to experience right now? Knowing is this inner knowing that, just like you said, it's going to come back. It's one of those, you can run, but you cannot hide. So I've noticed for myself, the experiences come back. So then I can choose to experience the other later on when it comes back, if I choose to. It's
Beautiful. Yeah.
having, for me, it's really having that, tapping into that power of, it's my life and it's my choice. It's what do I want to experience?
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. It's not, I mean, most choices, I mean, there's some choices that you sort of, stuck with basically, or you can't undo something. But in most cases, there's two opportunities, right? Path A, path B. I want to do path A now. That's what I want to experience. But most choices are not digital. It's not this, 0 of this and 100% of the other, right? And over time, it's like, okay, so the choice is back again. Maybe I'll do the other one, take the other path that I didn't take before, or get that experience, or, make that decision. My bottom line is to be compassionate with yourself, be compassionate with myself. This is a hard decision. Do I work with brother A or brother B? If I've got those kind of two choices that are deeply personal and important to me. And right now, I'm called to do brother A, if you will, or option A. And trust myself, trust my inner intuition, and not beat myself up for not choosing the other path, because I diminish the path I've chosen by regretting the path I didn't take. And that's not fair. That's not part of, I don't think, how I'm supposed to be living. So be gentle with yourself. Yeah. And the first thing you said, I really want to come back and reemphasize, is that I spend a lot of time in my alone space with myself. That's also a human right. I don't have to be 100% busy all the time with other projects or doing stuff for other people. Now, that's new to me. Up to the time I was 37, no, I had to stay busy. I made sure that I had jobs that I had to work 3 days in a row, 24/7. I mean, I created that for myself. And I'd be driving home at night from hospitals that operate 24/7. And I felt really, really good about the service that I provided to that community or that hospital or the people that were going to be, utilizing the equipment that I had been in servicing, 3 shifts of nurses or doctors or techs, et cetera, et cetera. So the idea of having time down to think about stuff for myself was a new concept for me at 37. Well, actually around 42 by the time I get through all the turmoil of transitioning. There's no wonder that all the spiritual traditions that I'm aware of have time that you take a day off. You take time to pray. You take time to meditate. You take time to worship. You take time to not do your day job. And so Could you say a little bit more about your practice of how do you do that? Do you schedule that? Do you put it in your Google Calendar? Do you get to a point of exhaustion and say, okay, time to just take a rest? How do you do that?
It's, I want to say yes, it definitely began after I came to you and learned all of these beautiful, magnificent words that I am. So what I do now is, no, I don't need to schedule it. I automatically do it. I need it. I can't go outside and interact with another human being if I don't do myself first.
Mm.
So my practice is, it starts in the morning when I first wake up, is that awareness of, let me create this space of gratitude within myself to bring the day. So the minute that I open my eyes, I'm automatically saying thank you within. Thank you, I woke up. I'm here. I have this bed. So that's my morning practice. And before I go to sleep at night, I take a long bath. I have a deep connection with water, and I do my meditation there. And I go through the day in my mind and the interactions that I had with how I behaved. And then I sit with myself, okay, are we content with how we behaved today, how we interacted with this human being? There was this situation today, Andres, and you reacted this way. How do you want to be with that? And what is the biggest part for me is this deep love and compassion that I learned to have for myself. Oh, we did that. Okay. All right. No judgment. Let's observe that. What do you think? And I coach myself. What do you think drew you to do that? Interesting. Okay. Do we want to continue to be that way? How else could we react next time? Because it's gonna come again. I already know we can't run from that. It's gonna come. So how are you gonna be? And so that's what I do. I go through the day and then I set the intentions for, okay, next time when this happens, I'm going to strive to bring majesty on and have majesty be with the situation. So really, Peter, is dedicating a lot of time for myself. And I've noticed that the more I embody this belief for myself, the belief of I deserve to be loved, I deserve to have compassion, the more I'm able to do it for myself, the more I am able to give to another. I have observed that how I treat myself is how I treat another.
Amen. Yeah, from an incredibly practical standpoint, it can't be any other way. I've often said that if I fill myself up with anger, let's assume that I'm 100% an angry man, then that is the only thing that I have to give to the world around me, to the people around me. If that's all I have inside of me is anger. The beautiful part about everything that we've been talking about this week, and particularly today, is filling myself up with my sense of self, core self, beautiful self, awesome self, God-given, created self. And I steep myself in that. I remind myself of that. I can call upon that. I grow that the more that I do that and acknowledge myself for that. Then that's all I have to give. And what a beautiful gift that is. If I'm compassionate with myself, and as I become more and more compassionate with my inhumane actions, my knee-jerk reactions that maybe has touched a nerve inside of me, an old hurt, Okay, more to heal. And I think that's part of life. Then I have more even after that process for people that are not trying to hurt me. I don't think anybody tries to hurt anybody else, frankly. I think it comes from a unhealed space within them. But I can even hold myself more compassionate with people that do outrageous things and come to, I'll give you one in particular. Oh, we're at time, so we're not going to do that. You have to come back tomorrow to listen to that story. See, there's a how do you like that? We really are at time. We want to allow the World Unity Week individuals to have that 5 minutes to do their packaging of these recorded sessions. So with that, I'm going to invite everybody to come back tomorrow. I'm inviting everybody that was speaking with interviewing this week to come back as sort of a panel discussion. Tomorrow will be 100% live. And so we'll explore whatever questions you still have remaining and banter amongst ourselves in terms of what journey we've been on and how we're doing with it. And maybe what got reinforced this week in terms of just actually talking about it. So with that, Andresa, you are so awesome. Thank you for being on my planet. Hope you can join us tomorrow. And thank you for today. And it's the interview that we did last week. God bless. Namaste.
Namaste.
Be safe, everybody. Bye-bye.